Good day and Assalamualaikum to each and everyone. I am Princess Shahada Nuhan Lumenda, and today I will be going to tackle about the risk hazard model. So what is the difference between a risk and a hazard? So ang risk is tumutukoy sa mga possible na pinsalang maaring matamo ng isang tao, ari-arian at kapaligiran dulot ng isang aksidente o sakuna. While ang hazard naman is ito yung mga bagay, pangyayari o gawain na maaaring mag-cause ng pinsala sa buhay ng tao, ari-arian at maging sa kalikasan. So, in the risk hazard model, it has three components. These are hazard, exposure, and vulnerability. So, each of these categories can be utilized or magamit to paint a picture of risk in a certain location and time. So, number one, hazard. Na-explain ko na yung hazard kanina lang. So, dagdag lang ito. So, ang hazard, in addition, those hazard events such as tsunami, earthquake, flood, cyclone that can cause loss of life, damage to infrastructure, injury, and in most especially loss of economic. Pangalawa, ang exposure. Exposure, ito yung sitwasyon ng mga tao, mga infrastructure, mga bahay, or other human property na na-expose after nung hazard events. Pati na rin yung mga na-expose na rin na area nung hazard events. Pangatlo is the vulnerability. So, ang vulnerability, like for example, during the typhoon, mas vulnerable ang mga taong nakatira sa tabi ng ilog o estero. Dahil nga sa mas malapit sila doon, that will be expected to be devastated than those community that their houses are made of cement or rocks. Furthermore, imagine those homeless people whenever they are affected by typhoons compared to those who are in comfort of their homes. Those homeless people lack of information, food, shelter, which makes them vulnerable. So now let's tackle about the third rail in social work ethics. So what is the third rail in social work? What is the third rail in social work ethics? So in terms of social work ethics, ang third rail na tinutukoy are those high-risk circumstances or situations that greatly increase the likelihood, or ang likelihood meaning yung mga possible na mag-cause ng harm sa client, third parties, or even sa mga social workers. So, however, mauugnay natin ang third rail sa ethical dilemma, wherein it is a problem or situations where to identify values are in conflict that usually encounter of social workers. Like for instance, in the moral dilemma, which consists to cause harm between client's decision and the social worker. So sometimes kasi may mga client kasi tayo na they need, sometimes kasi may mga client yung mga social workers that they need a type of assistance, then usually nagkakaroon ng conflict sa personal moral beliefs ng isang social worker. For example, ang client natin is pregnant. Then he asks about anti-abortion sa social worker for help obtaining an abortion. So social workers may feel torn between providing a type of service requested or maintaining a positive relationship with the client. But at the end of the day, as a social worker, you have to make decision based on accurate or to encourage the client to choose another alternative. So next is the risk management. So what is risk management? So ang risk management, it is a management where to identify problems and risks that commonly encounter in the social work field. So ang primary goal nila is to identify risks in the client bago pa mangyari na mag-cause ng harm, and also to avoid harm na rin sa clients, workers, and others. So, when social workers encounter ethical dilemma, the first priority should be doing the right thing. That is the social worker's principal aim that must be to act according with the profession's values and ethical principles related to protect the client confidentiality, self-determination, informed consent. However, all decisions making of social workers based on accurate ethical principles that should appropriate in the law. So next is risk identification and virtual interventions for social workers. So, ang risk identification and virtual interventions for social workers is napaka-importante dahil ginaguide at tinutulungan ang mga social workers or social care practitioners to understand how to gather evidence and information so they are able to identify risks normally gathered sa pamamagitan ng observation skills ng isang social worker. So, as a social worker, you have to identify risks. So, number one, what is identifying risk? So, identifying risk is it is a process of understanding both potential benefits and potential harm. So, ang potential benefits, ibig sabihin, nakapaloob dito yung mga tanong na like such as, what is the good thing about doing this? Or, what will I get out of it? Or, what could go wrong if I don't do it? So, it includes the individual wishes and aspirations. While ang potential harm naman is nakapaloob dito yung mga tanong na what could go wrong, or is there a possibility that anyone may be harmed? So the answer of this question is the professional will support the individual in exploring and understanding everything that could go wrong for them and for others. Yun na yun. Number 2 is the assessing risk, impact, and likelihood. So, as a social worker or social care practitioner will assess with the individual or their client about the impact. Ang impact na sinasabi is yun na yung consequences. At ang likelihood naman is yan na yung possibility of each of the potential benefits and potential harms which identified. So, the 5 steps to risk assessment. So, meron tayong 5 steps to risk assessment. So, yung pang-apat doon is make a record of the findings. So, ibig sabihin nun is when our interactions are over the phone or online, we need to ask relevant questions to find the risk and able to have some evidences during the assessment towards our client. So, number 5, review the risk assessment. So, through look at your workplace to identify those things, situations, processes, etc. that may cause harm, particularly to people. After identification is made, you analyze and evaluate how likely and serious the risk is. So, doon na pumapasok yung review the risk assessment. Number 3, managing risk enablement, and positive risk-taking. So, ano nga ba yung risk enablement? So, risk enablement, ito yung recognize that taking carefully considered risk can enable individuals and help improve their well-being. So, while ang positive risk-taking naman is a way of working with risk that promotes enablement, it is important to remember that the positive in positive risk-taking refers to outcome, not the risk. So that's all. Thank you.